Hello, it's 9 p.m. in RTD. It's time to English New Edition for tonight headlines. So we have the high-level meeting on infrastructures issue at Kempinski Palace. For the international scene, COP26, 18 countries commit to emit 13% less than methane by 2013. Welcome to our newsroom. The President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, wishes success to his Algerian counterpart, Mr. Abdelmadjid Tebboune, on the occasion of the celebration these days of the National Day of the People's Democratic Republic of Algeria. The people and government of Djibouti join me in expressing their sympathy and friendship to the sister nation of Algeria. President Guelleh wrote in the congratulatory telegram addressed to Mr. Abdelmadjid Tebboune. We are delighted with the clear process of strengthening the relations of exchanges and cooperation between our two nations in recent years. The head of state noted, "Be sure, Mr. President, that you will always find with the government and the people of Djibouti all the necessary support to promote the already privileged ties between our two countries." He continued before reiterating his best wishes to President Tebboune and all the brotherly Algerian people. The Prime Minister and acting head of government yesterday in Balkho, sub-prefectures of Dora regions of Tajara, accompanied by a strong delegation including the Minister of Transport and Equipment Hassan Hamad Arbahim, the Chief of the Defense Staff General Tahir Ali Mohammed, and the Director General of the Police Abdullah Abdi. The Prime Minister and acting head of government Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed was welcomed on his descent from the helicopters in Balkho yesterday by members of the government, including the Minister of Interior, and Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed was welcomed by the members of government, the Minister of Justice Ali Hassan Bahdoun, the civil and military authorities of the regions, including the prefect of Tajara Hassan Dable Ahmed, the member of parliament Omar Adan Said, and he came down from the helicopters in Balkho yesterday. The visit focused on exchanges on the living conditions of the population living in these remote localities and the ways and means to reinforce them to further the reinforcement of security and stability in this remote sector. The population of Balkho, Malakho, Garabtis, and Siyaru Hillu gave a warm welcome to the delegations led by the Prime Minister, who held a meeting immediately upon arrival to discuss with the representatives of the population of these very remote localities near the Ethiopian borders. During the exchanges and discussions, social difficulties were raised, including access to water, especially in Garabtisan, and the reinforcement of the capacity of the only health structures located in Balkho, and the problems of youth unemployment. The Minister of Justice who spoke at the meeting, Ali Hassan Bahdoun, who spoke at the meeting, referred to the regional to the regional dispute, which he said must not impact on our stability. We must all strive to ensure the security and stability of our countries as a guarantee of peace. You all know that peace is our motto, without which no development can be envisaged. It is thanks to this national harmony that we have succeeded in building these countries which belongs to us all, and it is thanks to it that we are all gathered here today. This is not the case in the whole of the Horn of Africa, which is suffering from violence. We have a duty to preserve it and to guard it jealously. Yesterday, after the interventions of the elders of Balkho, who transmitted their priorities need concerning the improvement of access to basic development sector, the Prime Minister and acting head of government, Abdul Qadir Kamil, took a good note of this legitimate grievance. I commit, he said, myself to follow up on these files until a positive response is received from the public authorities or institutions in charge of this area. he advised the elders to raise their grievance each time his officials visit your area, as they did not today in Balho. Today I am in Balho to exchange with you, and I ask you to be frank about your needs and aspirations for better development, and no participate in efforts to strengthen and preserve security in these areas far from the administrative center. The need that you have formulated today are your right, and it is our duty to provide an answer, especially in the fight against youth unemployment and the precariousness of nomadic families. The priority of the government's policy is to secure access to water and then to build basic development infrastructures in rural areas so that our children can be carried and educated like the children of the country. The fight against armed criminals and the fight against terrorism is our responsibility, and it is the responsibility of all of us. The fight against armed criminals must be eradicated through good cooperation between the population and the defense security forces who are there to protect and service the civilian population. The Prime Minister has announced that whenever the government undertakes to carry out development projects in rural areas, these criminals become an obstacle by carrying out criminal actions of sabotage and destructions of boreholes. Many times they have stolen food and medicines for our children from schools and clinics in this area. Therefore, the farmer has asked the representative of the population of Balho to stop the harmful actions of these armed criminals, whose only objective is to harm our civilian population in the rural areas with the support of the security and defense forces. The Prime Minister concluded that the national forces have the missions of protecting and defending our population through the national territories. This morning in Balho, in the sub-prefectures of Dora, in the regions of Tajora. The Campus Q Hotel hosted early this morning a high-level meeting on the issue of infrastructures and its financing under the title of InfraSape. The meeting was attended by the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Agriculture, Mohamed Ahmed Awale, the Minister of Housing, Amin Abdi Aden, the Minister of Delegate for Digital Affairs, Mariam Hamad Ali, and the team from the World Bank. On the agenda was InfraSape on an infrastructure assessment program, which is a comprehensive analysis on the constraint that can reduce commercial and private financing of infrastructure. It includes a set of possible policy reforms that can be considered and implemented by the countries in the short and medium term. The Minister of Finance said in his speech that this analysis is a surgical approach to informing more targeted policy decisions on how to use scarce resources to accelerate economic diversification and competitiveness while addressing institutional bottlenecks. Knowing that in developing country today, disruptions to the functioning of infrastructure are often at sources of daily problems that reduce the employment opportunities of the population while at the same time curbing economic growth. The Minister of Finance said that this meeting provided an opportunity to diagnose then develop an alternative approach to how infrastructure can contribute to improving the livelihoods of the average Djiboutians and their living conditions. In other words, how can these growth sectors today improve the basis for the functioning of schools and hospitals, businesses, and be the key to accessing jobs and improving the standards of living for all. The National Oil Djibouti, under its acronym NOC, has today launched the renovation work of the old service station's Logic Ali Amarkak Akal in front of the service station's headquarters. The station was getting old, so NOC plans to demolish the current facilities to rebuild a new one, and NOC will invest more than 200 million francs in its modernization project. Thanks to this modernization and reconstruction project and the installations of new distribution equipment, several direct and indirect jobs will be created. The ceremony was attended by the Minister of Energy, Younis Ali Gedi, the Minister of Interior, Said Nuh Hassan, the Chairman of NOC, Mr. Fossil Walde, and the family Ali Amarkek Akal. For his part, the Minister of Energy, Younis Ali Gedi, has indicated that I am very happy to have a participation in the signature ceremony held at the fuel stations on the First and Road near the Great Market to Riyadh. The center is one of the longest history in the capital, which was built in 1973, and last officials, the center has fuel in the capital as a strategy. On this event, an agreement has been signed by representatives from Amarkak's family and NOC company, the first directors of the company leading the event of Mr. My President, and this event shows reconstructions for the reconstructions of the Shirdal Center near the Great Market and the doctors of Dar Hanan. The hospital of Dar Hanan, the center will follow important opportunities for creation jobs and economic development in the country. The Minister of Environment Sustainable Development, His Excellency Mohammed Abdul Qadir Musa Hilm, participated in the COP26, which opened on the 31 October 2021 in Glasgow, England. 6 years after the Paris Agreement, 120 head of state took part in the World Summit on Climate Change. The main objective of this summit on heads of state is to raise the level of commitment to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. The other objectives of this COP26 is to mobilize funding for the countries most vulnerable to climate change. During this important conference on climate change, the Minister of Environment Sustainable Development is participating in a meeting to accelerate restorations in Africa. Accelerate land restoration in Africa. The aim of this meeting, co-chaired by President Macron and Prince Charles, was to build on the momentum of the One of Plains and Summit in Paris in January 2021. The Secretary of State in charge of sports, His Excellency Hassan Mohammed Kamil, received this afternoon in his office the visit of the coordinator of the Turkish Cooperation Agency, TICA, in Djibouti, Kutluhan Yücel, with whom he engaged in discussions on ways and means to revitalize the Djibouti-Turkish collaborations in sports. The Secretary of State in charge of sports, His Excellency Hassan Mohammed Kamil, received this afternoon in his office the visit of the Turkish agency. The discussion is focused on strengthening a strong partnership, focused on the priority of the Secretariat through the rehabilitations of sports infrastructure and donations of sports equipment and materials. The mediator of the Republic, Momin Ahmed Sheikh, held a meeting in his office with the delegations of the African Union Committee today, November 3. The discussion is focused on peace building and social justice, prevention and peaceful resolutions on conflicts, and promoting inter-religious cooperation. Promotions and inter-religious cooperation presentation was made by the delegation on the different missions. For his part, the mediator of the Republic, Momin Ahmed Sheikh, said that delegations, the members of the government, the member of the African Union Commission is representing the region expresses their joy and warm welcome they received. The mediator said in his speech, EU delegation specialists on religion, affections, and peaceful issue. The meeting was described as one of the focus on working to strengthen peace, committing society to justice, resolving disputes. So the first role in the Republic of the Djibouti is to distinguish between persons and administration. We would like to take advantage of this plan which provides peace between staff and administration. This is an important meeting on many issues. The Minister of Labor in charge of formalization and social protection in collaboration with the UNHCR held today a sensitization workshop on labor legislation for the refugee of the Markazi camp in the conference rooms of the Regional Council of Obok. The objective of this workshop was to raise awareness of the labor legislation in forces in Djibouti for the benefit of refugees living in the Markazi refugee camp. The event was attended by the Deputy Prefect of Obok, Mr. Ali Makki, the Vice President of the Regional Council of Obok, Mr. Ahmed Ali Sheikh, the Coordinator of ONAX, Mr. Muhammad Mola Ali, the representative of the UNHCR, Ms. Suzette, the Director General of INAF, Sharmake Idris, the Inspector General of Labor, Abdi Farah, the coordinators and refugee and of ANIFIB and refugee from the Markazi refugee camp. It should be noted that the Republic of Djibouti is a signatory to the 1951 conventions relating to the status of refugees and its 1967 protocol of agreement. The prefect of Artas region organized this morning in the prefectures of the region a meeting on the preparations and organization of the 50th editions of Africa Peace Walk, which will take place on Friday, November 26, 2021. The meeting was chaired by the prefect of Arta, Mohammed Sheikh Hassan, was attended by various members of the organization of this activity. The president of the regional council, Ms. Filsan Almi Hassan, the sub-prefect of the locality of Demerjog, Abdul Shakib Noor, the military corps, the civil corps of the officials of the region. The prefect of Artas region reminds us that the population of the capital and those of the interior regions must participate in the pedestrian event that will take place in the Artas region. The Directorate of the Maritime Affairs informs that the ferry Mohammed Burhan Qasim will resume service tomorrow, Thursday, 4 November 2021, and according to its weekly routes, the Directorate of Maritime Affairs reiterates its apologies to its users for the delay in the resumption of the ferry service. The gendarmes of Ali Sabih Brigade carried out a large-scale operation during the night of the 1st November 2021 in the fight against tax on the national economies and smuggled goods following the exploitations on intelligence. The gendarmes were directly posted at certain crossing points used by smugglers at the level of the Wadi of Aramud. Following their arrests, the smugglers led the gendarmes to a certain cache used to conceal illicit product before their sale on the local market thanks to an adapted device. The gendarmes caught 7 smugglers and were able to seize 11 parcels of cat, each containing 100 pocket and several fruit juice. Also from the smuggling, the market values of all these goods is estimated at 1.5 million Djibouti francs. For the international scene, COP26, 18 countries commit to 13% less methane emissions by 2030. More than 18 countries, including the EU and the United States, pledged on Tuesday during the COP26 climate conference to reduce this emission gas of methane and powerful greenhouse gas by 13% by 2030 compared to 2020, announced the President of the European Commission, the United States and European Union has announced in mid-September that they were working together on this draft agreement, which has since been joined by dozens of other countries, including Canada, South Korea, Vietnam, Colombia, Argentina. Methane, CH4, emitted by agriculture and livestock, fossil fuels and waste, is the second most important greenhouse gas linked to human activities after carbon dioxide. Although less talked about, its warming effect is about 29 times greater per kilogram than of the CO2 over 100 years times horizon and about 82 times over a 20 years period. This is it for the news. Thanks for watching us. Have a good evening.